Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and today it is time for us to do a film review for week 2, where I had originally planned to watch Devin Lloyd, given how great of a start he's had this year, but it really feels like it just was right to go with Montaric Brown this week. Phenomenal performance from him, especially in all the extra things you ask for from a cornerback. Right? Talking outside of coverage. Are you going to be willing in run defense? Are you going to get involved as a tackler? Are you going to set the tone in a game? And I think Montaric Brown did probably the best job that he has ever done in his time in the NFL. This has to be arguably the most impressive performance he's had. If it wasn't, it would probably be New Orleans last year, but really good game by him. Obviously, Jacksonville came up short, but there were still some very good individual performances. And we want to talk about this a little bit because Montaric Brown is that example, I think, for Jacksonville of drafting a good player late in the draft or someone that you can develop and turn into a valuable asset. And while I don't think right now we can sit here and say, you know what, Montaric Brown is a long-term starter for the Jaguars. I think that's pushing it maybe a little too far. Not that he can't start in the NFL. But I think we can say that if you got to put him on the field, you're not super worried about it. And that's invaluable for this team because you've got Tyson Campbell, who's had injuries. You've had Ronald Darby, who's suffered with injuries. And obviously he's healthy right now, but that's just kind of been part of the story of his career. Having Brown out there to play for this team is extremely valuable. So we're going to talk about his performance. We're going to talk about kind of what the expectation was coming in, look a little bit at his draft profile, even some of the athletic testing, measurements, that sort of stuff. And then how did he perform during this game? So jumping into that, the performance for this game, obviously, like I said, great game, right? Great grade in run defense. You'll see it on film very clearly. As a tackler, he has been the best that he's ever been, and it's been by far an 84.3 grade on the season. And I want you to understand how drastically different this is from 2023. He had a 28.5. I don't know if I've ever seen that big of a swing for a player. I don't know if I've ever seen that big of an improvement. But Montaric Brown, man, he's taken that step. Look at the amount of missed tackles. 13. Had 27 tackles on the year. 26.5% miss rate. We go to 2024, he has half the tackles that he had the previous year, and this is 88 snaps compared to 475. If you do the math, he's about involved 3 times as much as he was the previous year. So, phenomenal. Phenomenal work from Montaric Brown as a tackler. Has not missed yet this season, which you will see on film. He has been in position in run defense. That is another thing that you will see. And in coverage, well, they do grade him out technically below average. I think he's done a good job, and I think there's things that he did not get credited for. There were multiple times just watching the first quarter where I saw plays that I would probably count that as a pass breakup. And yet, you see none on here. So that's the questions with that, with PFF. I don't know if they just missed it or what happened. But this was an incredible performance, and that's why we're going to talk about it. Now, before we get into the film, just want to give you an idea of what we're working with for Montaric Brown. So he's got the height, he's got the weight. And these are doable sizes, right? This isn't like elite, per se. He's not a 6'3", 205 corner who runs a 4.3. But he's got good size. He's got long arms for the cornerback position. He's got big hands. And as far as my only concern, really, from an athletic standpoint, he ran a 4.55 in the 40-yard dash. So this is not a player that's necessarily going to be the best at keeping up with the speedy receivers in the NFL. And so what you're going to see Montaric Brown do a lot is get physical. He's going to get physical with wide receivers. He's going to make a lot of contact with them where he can. He's had 1 penalty this year, which is impressive for how much he has been targeted on the season. But that's what you're going to get from him. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the film. Now, hopefully this time, this doesn't just have to be on Twitter. And If you're watching from YouTube and you're wondering where the Travon Walker video went or haven't heard about it, you can go to my Twitter and watch it. You can go to the community posts as well on the channel, and you'll see on there, I believe there's one that links you to that Twitter post. It has the whole video. I just was a goofball and decided I'm going to record the actual broadcast film, which ended up getting taken down. So hopefully this does not. And if it does, well, you're going to be watching on Twitter right now, so you'll already know about that. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this. We'll have to jump around a lot because it shows every play twice. It gives you 2 angles. Some of them we'll probably watch both. There's also offense included in this, so I'll have to find my way through. And then some of these angles only show offensive line, so given he's a boundary corner, some of them aren't the best. So you'll see the second angle here after this play. But you got Montaric Brown lined up at the top of the screen here. So this is close to the line of scrimmage. It's a run play. And it's a great start right off the bat. So I think you'll be able to see it in this next angle as well. So what Montaric does here, they're going to hand off the ball. You're going to see him show up over here. He's engaged with Amari Cooper. Doesn't really have a great block here. He's kind of, I don't know. It didn't feel like a great effort from Amari. But what Montaric Brown is doing here is he's holding his point. You're going to see him watching the running back, right? He sees him here. He's trying to figure out which way he's going to go around because he's either going to cut it wide outside because of Cisco here, or he's going to try to sprint up through the gap. So you see he kind of gets pushed over. I think that's a Luicon there. And he's going to try to cut over. And when he does that, Montaric Brown throws Cooper over, gets it on the tackle. Right off the bat, phenomenal start in an area that there's a lot of cornerbacks play on the outside that they don't want to get physical. They only get involved when they have to. Montaric's not that guy. Montaric is someone who's going to bring it all the time. You know, if you've watched him the last couple of years, one thing you're going to be able to tell is this is not a guy who gets flustered. No, this is someone who's going to get back up every single time and try, and you're going to see that effort, and we're already seeing a very improved version of him. But we got a lot more plays to get to, so we'll keep watching. So, once again, what looks like man coverage alignment, you're going to see a lot of this from him. Actually, I'll kind of show you proof of this real quick, and just how often Jaguars players are lining up in man coverage right now. So, we look at the entire league first, and see what, like, the highest percentages you're getting. We'll do 50 of 100, so people who are out there for most snaps. Ronald Darby's top of the list. Like, it's Denver, Jacksonville, and Detroit that are running a lot of man coverage. Then you got New England in here as well. There's a lot of this, right? Montaric Brown is tied for 5th on this list with Jones. So, you're seeing a lot of man coverage on the film. So getting back to this, make sure this is, yep, still working. Good. All right, next play. So lined up at the top. So this is one where I've already watched this play. I don't know if Amari just like didn't have a route there or what, but not a whole lot to talk about, right? Montaric just stays on his guy, doesn't really get challenged. And you got to play over the middle there. So now we got Montaric Brown, I believe, lined up here. So no receiver out wide. He's going to follow Judy. He's going to run back. Makes another tackle, right? This is someone, I think, who has shown on the film this year very disciplined in the run. So I'll watch this again. You guys got that? I don't know if that pink line shows up for you. I don't know why that does on here. But he's going to see him cut back here into the open lane, and he's there to meet him. So that's more yards that he's preventing him from getting. Get rid of that stupid line. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see it. I have like a pink line going up the screen for some reason when I use the space bar here. Okay, so back on track. Montaric's lined up kind of in the same spot here. It's going to follow, I think that's Elijah Moore out. More of a zone coverage look here. ends up carrying him down the field, and it's just a simple run play. We'll cut forward past that. All right, so you got him lined up here. What looks like press again. So getting his hands on him where he can, keeping up well. Something you're going to have to see from Brown throughout this film. Given he has 4.55 speed, this is not someone who's going to have a lot of recovery ability. So when he gets on guys, he's got to be quick to respond. And that's where you're going to see him improve a lot this year. He's already done it. But when he doesn't, you're going to see that as well. So lined up again. Looks like man coverage at the top. Ends up being an end around. Makes a tackle, right? Could Judy have got over him? Yeah, sure. But Montaric Brown knocks out his legs. Third tackle of the game. And we're on the first drive of the game at midfield. For context, just for a moment, on how involved Montaric Brown is as a tackler. I believe the record for the most tackles in a season is held by Foye Oluokun right now. I believe it's like 191 or 192. Now, week 1 wasn't super involved. You see 2 tackles. 11 tackles in week 2. At this rate, he would come up 4 or 5 tackles short if you just look at week 2 on the season, right? Compared to what Foye Oluokun did. 11 each week would get him to 187. As a cornerback, that's how involved Montaric Brown is getting in run defense for this team. So really good stop there. We'll move forward. I think he's up here at the top. It's easy to tell he's the only guy with a 3. So not much he had to do there. You see some of that size as well, right? You look at him on the field, like it's not the same kind of measurements we're looking at for like edge rushers and tackles and their positions like that. 31-inch arms plus is pretty good. Lined up at the top of the screen. Gonna carry him downfield. See, he gives up a little bit of room. If I want to be picky, that's somehow a catch. It's disgusting, but that's the main issue, right? He will get physical in man coverage, but there is the window if you have a good passer and a good receiver to get it done. But what we'll see later as he gets more targets is getting physical at the catch point, kind of where he makes up for it. So Brown is going to be lined up at the top of your screen here. There's your example of him trying to get physical. Not the best example, right? But gives up a little bit too much room. I don't know if he's in like a zone there or what. I'd probably have to rewatch the play a few times. But he doesn't have he doesn't have that like sudden speed to be able to close in space like that, which is a little bit of your issue here. So we'll fast forward. Not much he had to do there. Hopefully not too far here. All right, so lined up top of your screen. Not sure who that is. Might be David Bell. Yep. It's not a whole lot he has to do. So we'll fast forward to the next play. So lined up, top of your screen again here. He's going to follow Judy down the field. Turns into a run. Every time it turns into a run, you're going to see him hold his point. You're going to see him be as physical as the wide receiver is. He does a very good job of having integrity in that facet of the game. All right, next play. Lined up on Cooper. It's going to be a run. Not much he can do there. All right, so next snap. It's probably going to be on Elijah Moore. Guarding the outside there, trying to be able to be involved in either one, whether it's throwing the guy in the end zone or the guy that's around the 10. You got the Joshua Hines Allen sack you'll have to see. All right, lined up the top again. So just doing a good job following his guy, not allowing a lot of separation. Nothing they can do there with him. End up throwing to 18. All right, so looks like first and goal here. It's going to be run defense. Now, want you to watch this play back here, the second angle. I want you to watch Devin Lloyd. I shared this on Twitter. We talk about, I know this is Montaric Brown film breakdown, but I want to note this. We talk about players stepping up for this team, right? Something you want to see. And you got to go make big plays because those are the plays that are going to change the game. And it's not going to be just one guy doing it that's going to always save the team. You need a lot of guys doing it. And I will say the good thing for Jacksonville is that they do have, I think, multiple players who are stepping up individually. Two, and they were the two that we were going to talk about this week, or choose between Montaric Brown, as we're talking about now, and Devin Lloyd. Think about what Javon Holland did week 1 to Travis Etienne, punching the ball out at the 1-yard line to prevent it from being a 24-7 game. If this got recovered, it'd be a similar thing just earlier in the game. So watch Devin Lloyd here. So great run defender. You're going to see him come down to the gap, just punch the ball out. Now, the way the ball bounced, they got lucky and they got it back. And you'll see this next play. They're going to score immediately. And I don't think we got Montaric Brown on the field here. But just straight up the middle. So it blows, but Jacksonville came really close to getting a stop there. For all we know, it might have been a safety. But if the ball bounced back, maybe it wouldn't have. So we'll fast forward to the next drive. We just got to find it here. All right, so here's your punt return. Fast forward a couple times. And I saved y'all from having to watch Tim Jones miss a tackle there. Okay, so back to the second drive of the game here. You got Montaric Brown lined up at the top of the screen. Once again on Amari Cooper. Covered him a lot in this game. So really good defense here. Wasn't a catchable ball. But you're going to see him just do a really good job of making sure that he's got leverage, the ability to stay down the field with him. You don't see a lot on this angle, but he's not letting him get side by side until he's getting physical with him. So really good stuff there. Now this play here ends up being a run, not his direction, not much he can do there. It's not a whole lot to note. All right, lined up top of your screen again. So another run play. Not really running the ball towards him at this point. And hopefully in the future, just to pause this for the moment, I've been trying to figure out a way to just have plays where it is simply the player we're watching and them being involved. There is a way for me to get that, but the site has been crashing. And I would have had it up to date, but I have not. But I do have a subscription to NFL Pro, or I guess it's part of NFL Plus Premium, to where we should be able to watch individual players a lot better. But their site's just been having a hard week. So, all right, now this one I think is one to watch. So, yeah, watch. So David Bell here. Not a super fast player. I had to go look it up. He ran a 4.65 in the combine. But this is kind of a concern that you get. He's off screen here, but he's just off to the right, where Brown doesn't really have the recovery speed to keep up with certain players. So you'll see him show up here, and he's just going to run what I believe is a drag route, where he's just going to turn inside immediately and run across the field. Brown's not going to have any help here. You're going to see Brown's lined up a little bit to the outside. You can see him coming on screen. And just out of position, doesn't have the speed to get back in. You see him start catching him, but too long of a window, and then ends up being a completion. Not for a lot of yards, but still a completion. So now you got lined up here. Just kind of guarding this area of the field. So we'll fast forward to the next play. All right, Montaric Brown is lined up pretty far from the line of scrimmage. Gonna pick up Judy. You see him just staying involved, right? He's not just sitting around waiting for the play to end. He's putting himself in position consistently. So you're gonna see a pretty disgusting three-way missed tackle. And who's running over? Montaric Brown. Doesn't end up getting in on the tackle, but he's doing what he can. It's lined up here against Judy. Ends up being a run. Just staying in position in case he breaks out. Doesn't end up breaking out. So next play here. Going to be lined up, I believe, against Judy once again. Maybe David Bell. Going to be an air run. Involved on the tackle, right? Just constantly watching where the running back's going, putting himself in position, playing smart, being involved in the play. It is a huge step, what he has done this year in run defense. So just following, pushing him out of bounds. So lined up at the bottom again. That's Cedric Tillman. I haven't seen him in forever. Not since he was scouted. But nothing to really note on this play. Alright, bottom of your screen. Elijah Moore. Judy's going to come over. Awesome hit. Awesome play by Montaric Brown. We'll watch this back again really quick. So it's like he knows what's happening there right off the bat. Follows him across. You'll see them both come streaking over. Gets physical, right? And that's one of his strong suits. He will hit you at the catch point. He will make the catch difficult. And that should be a PBU. Honestly, I don't understand why it's not. Maybe I don't have a good understanding of what a PBU is. I feel like I do. I think it's pretty simple, but great play by Montaric Brown there to stop a completion. They got him lined up at the bottom here. Giving up a little bit of separation, but Watson's pretty much in a scramble drill. So I think he's kind of monitoring that more so. It doesn't really matter if the receiver's open if Watson can't get the ball out towards him. All right, next play. Lined up at the bottom here against Elijah Moore again. Now you're going to see where he doesn't have the snappiness to necessarily stay in phase with all that movement. But he's still there. It's not bad, right? He's not completely lost or anything, but you're not going to see that, Terrion Arnold kind of movement. I would credit Terrion Arnold with that. And a lot of other players too. So it ends up being a kick here because, well, Mari Cooper drops a pretty awful pass. We'll just watch this again down the field. This is what I meant the other day when I was saying this should have been a 14-0 game after this drive, but just terrible drop. So we'll try to get back to Brown's offense. All right, here we go. So we'll rewind to the first play. Okay. So probably lined up out to the right. Yeah, didn't really get to see him on that play. We'll get him on the next one. Alright, it's lined up at the bottom. Like the jab there. But not anything you're going to do on that play. So lined up here. Now, not a perfect play against the run, but it's a quick moving play. It's hard to follow. And still forces the guy to come inside where he gets tackled. Because you can't go outside. Brown's there. And you got help to the inside with Josh Allen. So still, I think, a fine play, but not like a shining example of brilliance per se. So you're going to see him hustle on this play downfield, but just the speed, right? Like, not going to be able to keep up with everyone. Probably could have hustled a little bit better there, too. Especially later on in the run. But able to get a stop. And I think that was a 4th and 1, which is disgusting to think about. So lined up bottom of your screen again. Not a lot to say there. Not much you can do. That's going to be a lot of plays as a cornerback. You're not getting targeted, or it's a run play, especially on the boundary. So press them at the bottom. Once again, nothing you're going to do on that play. It's down here. I think more of a zone look there. But not really involved on that one. So ends up being a field goal. So we'll move forward to next round's drive here. Feels like some of these drives have been an eternity. Gosh, this is like impossible to find. Okay, here we go. Hopefully we won't miss any plays in here, but it's kind of hard to find where this all starts. So, Browns are on offense again later in this game. Browns lined up, now moving towards the line of scrimmage. Awesome play. Just breaking downhill towards the running back, getting a good tackle. We'll watch it again here. But this is easily where he has done the most. Just another good play. Now you got him at the bottom of the screen here. He's going to follow Cooper downfield. Ends up being a short pass. Got him bottom of the screen again. Lined up a lot on this side of the field. So, kind of just staying close there. But just not really the athleticism to stay in phase through all that. That's definitely going to be where you're going to see the weakness. But doesn't get targeted on the play. It's an incompletion. Browns punt. Alright, should be the next drive. Okay. So we'll fast forward, or sorry, rewind to this first play. takes forever for this thing to load whenever I change where it's at. Okay. Browns down here. Didn't really follow the run there. Didn't have to get involved, but didn't really seem like he knew where it was going. So next play. Once again, bottom of your screen. This time it's Elijah Moore. Did a good job staying with him at that break. He's getting physical where he can, not too much, but making things difficult in that regard, which is really what he's got to do. Great play by Foye Luke on there. All right, top of your screen. So yeah, they got two guys they got to cover there. He ends up falling back for Cooper. They take the short pass. Not a whole lot you're going to do there on that play if you're Brown. Yeah, you're better off guarding the deeper pass. So you got another punt here. We're not going to see a lot of long drives from the Browns later in this game. Obviously, they didn't score a whole lot late. All right. So we're about an hour into our hour and 15-minute video. This will not be that long, but it's how much film we've got. So back on offense for the Browns. Montaric Brown lined up the top here. Didn't stick with him, but I mean, how much yardage are you getting there, right? A few yards, but this is where you see once again that he's got to be a killer with his instincts. He has to know where the ball's going. He has to make up for athleticism that way. Because if he doesn't, he's going to be really out of position. He's now lined up at the top against, I think that's Cooper. Misses a little bit there, but errant pass. Still stuck with him decently. Could do better, but it's not a completion. We'll rewatch the first angle of that again. Yeah, it kind of misses with press, and he gets behind him. So definitely room to improve on that play, but no completion. So lined up against him again, playing a lot against their wide receiver one. Actually, that might be... No, that's Judy now. So, ends up getting this completed. You're just going to see him separate with speed, right? That's where we're seeing him struggle primarily on these drag routes, where he's got to carry someone across the field. He's not in position. He's not able to react quick enough to be right there. I think they're kind of seeing that as a weakness at this point. Now, got a run play here. Could have done more. I don't know. But not that he was the only player who was kind of just standing around there. So we'll watch this again. Antonio Johnson does get that tackle, but there's been a lot of missed ones I've been seeing on film from him. It's been a rough year. So top of your screen. Yeah, that's kind of a rough play. I don't know what his assignment was there. We'll rewatch that again. But he lets him go by. I don't know if he's more focused on the guy who... I mean, I think it's the tight end ends up coming down here. And then you've got Antonio Johnson, who's just not close enough to make the play. So, I don't know. You might blame that more on the safety there. Depends on what their assignments were. But Not a good play, obviously. Huge completion for the Browns because of coverage mixed-ups. So we'll go to the next play. Top of your screen against Jerry Jeudy. Another drag route. Judy's not really running full speed there for whatever reason. Still threw it to him. And, man, Brown looked like he almost got his hands on that. We'll have to see here. So he's doing a good job keeping up there. So, yeah, just out of reach for him. Perfect throw. Right on the money. Ends up being a completion. So, I don't know. I mean, what can you say there? Still think it's solid defense, but ends up being a completion at the end of the day. So next play here. I think he's off the field. Yeah, so we'll fast forward. Wasn't a lot of plays he's off the field for here. Was carrying that guy downfield. Not a huge threat there. Does his job. Go to the next play. Now he's lined up here against 19, Cedric Tillman. Just a simple sneak. I think that was probably Winston, I'm assuming. Yep. Jaguars couldn't stop that all day. Lined up now against Cooper. Another run. Not much you got to do there. It's a simple run up the middle. Probably trying to kill the clock at this point. Hard to tell with some things just because you can't see the ticker. You can't see the time left, any of that stuff. This might be the last offensive drive for the Browns. So, Browns here. Following the run. Doesn't really get in great position for it. Gives up that play. We'll watch that back here. Watch this. Yeah, he kind of... Yeah, it's Brown there. Let's fast forward again. I want to see this from the very start of the snap. So Brown's lined up here. I think he's kind of watching the outside. Maybe thinking something's going to Tillman or... I don't know. But he gets out of position here. Make a good cut coming back inside. Quick enough to where Cisco, in all that time, isn't even able to get back to him. It's crazy, honestly. And Montaric Brown's completely out of position there. So, not a great play for Brown in run defense that time. Not taken away from what he's done so far, but not a perfect player, right? So we'll fast forward because not really a great angle here for that. Hard to see the cornerback. So he's lined up against Jeudy. I think this is the point where they just started getting penalized every play. But just staying smart there, not falling for bait. Staying with him. It's a good play. But you can see they're not even really looking that way the whole time. Throws it into double coverage. Alright, top of your screen again. This feels like more of a zone here. Kind of a wild play, hard to judge. It ends up being a run. So we'll go to the next play. Alright, top of your screen again. Back to the 40 now. It's kind of protecting deep. Because the guy, he reached these markers, they end up giving up a decent completion. Brown comes in for the tackle. Tackling a tight end, so I'm not expecting him to just rip him to the ground. That might be the final play of this game. At least for the Browns offense. Oh, we got one more. Guess in there. Another flag. Ends up being involved in the tackle there. good stuff, just tackling machine throughout this game. He's off screen for you here. But staying on his block, gets off of it, makes a tackle. Good stuff to see. So now you get a punt by the Browns. Didn't end up going for it. This was, I believe, the one that went out the 2. I will try to... Yeah, I won't make you guys have to watch that. Okay. So, Browns back on offense here. I think this is just 3 run plays, if I remember correctly. Straight up the middle, tackled. May not be much to note here for a cornerback. Same thing here. Just trying to run down the clock, hoping to get it the hard way, you know. And third down coming up. Browns lined up in the same spot. Browns around again, or actually they throw here. Oh man, if they had, I don't know if that's a fumble. I don't remember seeing this play. They had Tillman downfield. That's a big pressure from Josh Allen, because if that's not there, this game's over at that point. If he can hit this throw. So I don't know if I don't think I'd put that on Brown at all necessarily. He's kind of guarding this area of the field. But yeah, good thing Josh Allen's involved on that play. So you got the punt. Final drive for Jacksonville. Drop at the end of the game. We won't make you watch that. But that's your performance from Montaric Brown. So just to kind of summarize, you know, him as a player, where we're at, my takeaways from this. This is someone that I feel like every year has gotten better. Every year you see growth. And it's hard for me to imagine the Jaguars at any point saying that Montaric Brown is not a valuable enough asset to be on this football team. I think this is the kind of guy that you see probably stick around for quite a while. No, I'm not talking about making, $5 million a year or those kinds of contracts. I think he's probably going to be closer to veteran minimum, but he's valuable, right? Like, this is a really good player to be able to put in when you have an injury. Someone who's going to be able to make plays. He's going to be involved. He's going to be, almost as good, if not better, than Tyson is in run defense. And I think he at least, for the most part, understands his weaknesses athletically and tries to limit them, right? There's going to be situations you don't want to put him in as much. But Brown, I think, played really well in man coverage. It wasn't perfect, right? But we're not expecting that for a player that was, I think, a 6th-round pick when he was selected all the way back in 2022. But this is a strong performance. This is a really strong performance. This is a physical player, someone who is going to make up for his disadvantages in that way, and really should have been credited for more than he got. There were multiple times where he was involved in breaking up a pass during this game. So I'm really happy with the performance. Now, where can he grow from here? I think the only thing I can really note is just the anticipation, right? He has to be a killer in that regard. If he is not ready for the play in the moment it happens, or if he's not ready for the cut and he gets out of position, it's really hard for him to make it up compared to a lot of other quarterbacks that may be more athletically talented. And I'm not saying this is in Brown is this massive liability. I don't think he's that kind of liability. I just think it's a weakness. And when you're playing against top players, especially like in this game where he's getting lined up against everyone, right? There were a lot of snaps playing against Amari Cooper. You got to be able to stay in phase if you're going to run this much man coverage. And that's the main issue for him. So the mental processing, if Brown can keep growing in that regard, which I see growth right off the bat in what he's done in run defense and how good he's gotten at it, and really only having, a couple mistakes at most in this game that I was able to note. I think he's a starting caliber player. I think he can be that for this team. I don't think you're worried if you have to put him out there. Obviously, you prefer to not be injured. But I think Brown is capable of being a starter in the NFL, whether that's as a journeyman or not. I think he's a player who can do it. And so I'm happy for him. I'm excited for him. This is someone who's busted his ass to get here at big moments last year. I mean, I remember the Saints game having the pass deflection at the end of the game to help the Jaguars win. He's a valuable player to this team. And as far as Devin Lloyd, I know I let a lot of people think we were going to talk about him. We will talk about him soon. Hope maybe next week, for all we know. He's having a phenomenal year. He's been good every single week. It's going to be hard to imagine him falling off a cliff and not being someone we can talk about. He'll have another good week soon, probably this next weekend, and we'll do some film evaluation on him as well. But that's what I've got here. I appreciate you guys watching, taking your time here. Give me your thoughts, what you saw, maybe some things you noticed that maybe I didn't. And just what you think about Montaric Brown. But that's all I've got for now. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. And finally, go Jags.